Well, hello, Art One. We are going to be learning about tessellations today. So tessellation is a repeating visual pattern that can be done mathematically. We're not going to get that deep in it because many of you will need a lot more one-on-one help with that. And I think this is a little easier to understand. So there are lots of different tessellations that you can do. This one is just a regular stacked pattern. And this artist mixed it up a little bit, made it a little bit more interesting. So we have all these diver helmets with some cross hatching in the background. And then we have a starfish here in the middle to kind of make that nice underwater theme. Okay, so we're going to do a spinning, rotating tessellation. This is one that I did last year as a demo. So it has dragons, and I made all of the drawings of the dragons the same except for this one, because at one point I thought it looked like a Pegasus. So I decided to throw one Pegasus in here, but I'm coloring them all a little bit different just so that the pattern comes out. It looks more interesting if they're all just a little bit different, so they're the same and different. Or I could have done, you know, 2 dragons and 2 Pegasus at each intersection. You guys are going to be working on smaller paper. So here's an example of that with a larger tessellation pattern. So this was my old Indian chief guy. So again, these are just all the same. I've drawn them in with Sharpie marker. And you can see some of the ones where I've traced it, but I haven't drawn the stuff in yet. So there's that. And then I've gone back in and done some pencil shading in areas to make it, you know, more interesting. So starting out, what you're going to need is a little piece of cardboard. So this is just a piece of a pizza box. And that's kind of the type of material you're going to want to use because we're going to be tracing around this a lot. So this is just more of that pizza box because I anticipate that I'm going to mess up a bit. And this one, I kind of knew what I wanted to draw. This one, I've got a unicorn head started, but I'm going to start from scratch with you guys. So I'm going to find a nice square piece of this box. How about right here? And I'm going to make a 2-inch square here. So you can't really see what I'm doing here, can you? I'm going to get this as square as possible. So I'm just going to mark that. And you wouldn't have to use a ruler. You could always use just a piece of paper. As long as your marks are the same distance, so that you're getting a square, that should be fine. Okay, cut that out. When you cut these out, you want to try to cut it out with as smooth of an edge as you can get with your scissors. If you have rough edges, when you trace around it, that's going to show. Like this rough edge right here is probably going to mess me up a little bit. There we go. Okay, so when we are making a rotating pattern, I'm going to draw this with pencil first. If I don't have any idea what I'm going to do, I'm just going to make some random shapes here. So this one is going to come this way. And this one is going to come that way. No, this one's going to go that way. Sorry. There we go. And that will make it rotate. So I'm going to cut these out one at a time and tape them so that I can't mess that up. And I go straight to the corner. It just makes it easier to line up. If you cut that corner off, it makes it a lot more difficult to line up your edge. Okay, so this one is going to go this way. Right there. I'm going to tape that. I'm going to make sure that it's up snug against it so that when you're tracing this, it interlocks properly. Cut this, and I'm going to tuck my extra tape. Okay, so there's that. I've got a little bit of a gap there, so we may run into some issues later. We'll find out. The other thing I've done is when I drew my line, it wasn't just a little squiggly, wavy line. That's not going to give you an interesting shape to work with. So the more dramatic the curves and angles of your lines are, the more interesting of a shape you're going to have to work with. So this was here, and it is going to come across over here, and I'm going to line it up with my corner, the corner of the square, not the corner of this, or it will be off just a little bit. And we don't want to have it be off by any more than we can help. Now, you guys all have scissors. I also have this because I'm a huge art nerd and I have a huge stack of stuff at home and it's a little bit quicker for me, but scissors will absolutely work. If you can't tuck it and get that line nice and clean how you need it to trace it, it won't interlock properly if you don't have this trimmed off all the way. Okay, so this is the shape that I am left with. So kind of spin that around until you see something in it. So this is kind of like you're looking at clouds and finding things in the clouds. Oh, okay. All right. So I see a little horse. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and actually, you know what? I think this looks more like a little baby dragon. Maybe a horse. I don't know. We'll see. I saw a horse first. We'll try to go with a horse. And this will just be all crazy mane. We'll have some muscles that come down. So I'm just going to be making a horse on this side, or let's see, is there anything else I see in this? Probably could have done a turkey right here. I made this the head, this the tail, the feet. This looks more like a dragon. And you can always create negative space in your design. It's always a good idea to have an idea of what you're gonna do with this. I'm just gonna use some cross hatching in my negative space here. So we can kind of block out what we want to see. We could do some scales. Think about what textures you're going to do. If we're going to do something like this, it really doesn't take that long to create your stencil and trace that out. But the cool part of your design is going to be when you come back in and start drawing all these details, or when you start coloring it and doing them all differently. So let's see. Oh, I guess we could always have so this horse is going to be jumping. And that would make it a little more interesting. I still think I like the dragon side better. So I am just going to start in the middle and trace around this guy. Go slowly, get a nice, clean, smooth line on here. Oops. And the other thing, if you go ahead and draw your picture on your template here, it's impossible to accidentally flip it wrong side up, which I have done. And then I've stared at it for a while, trying to figure out what in the world went wrong there. And the rest of this is just a puzzle, because you have to figure out where and how it interlocks. So if all you have is pens and pencils, that's fine, but I still expect to see a really good range of values and textures in your tessellation, and that's completely doable. You don't have to color it if you don't want to, or if you don't have colored pencils. That's okay. Okay, so there's my first spiral. So then I got to figure out where the rest of this flips in. And I may actually have to flip this to make it work. Nope. There we go. Yay, I did do my template right. So take it all the way off the page, because that's going to help you line up all of the places where you're going to be tracing. And And it's starting to get off just a little bit from that edge that I didn't quite have lined up 100%. That's okay. Just fudge it a little bit. And as long as it's pretty close, this is actually pretty close. It's lining up almost perfectly. And when you're doing it this way, instead of doing it mathematically with triangles, then you just don't quite get those precision 100% lined up edges. Okay, so here's one of those spots where it doesn't quite line up, and I'm just gonna have to fudge that edge just a little bit. Not that big a deal. Shoot. Okay, so that is all of that. So now I kind of refer back to my dragon drawing here, and I'm actually going to use my pencil for this. That way if I mess up, I can erase. I think I'm going to open that mouth just a little bit more. You know what? I think I'm going to alternate it. So my horse is backwards, but I can work with that. Man, there is a bird right outside my window just going ham. My gosh. This is just going to be a little area of negative space right here. I'm just going to color that in. And then... No, I don't like that neck that way. Okay, now I'll do another dragon here. If you want to do yours all the same thing, by all means, go right on ahead and do that.